I'm John Kavakis, and this is my take. As many of you know, there's been a consolidation in the white metal industry, and one of the great questions that's being asked is what's going on at Brooklin? Well, we've managed to get all of the principals together today to chat. So I've got Keith Williams, Simon Elford, and Daniele Rozzini with us today. And we're going to spend some time talking about what's happened at Brooklin, SMTS, what is happening with them, and what's going to go on in the future. So let's talk to the guys.
We have with us Daniele Rozzini from Customer First in Milan, Italy, and we've got Keith Williams and Simon Elford from Brooklin and SMTS. Guys, thanks for spending some time with us. We really appreciate it. Daniele, I think what's on everybody's minds right now is what's going on with Brooklin, what's happening with SMTS, and you know the name Bulgari has been tossed around. We kind of know who Mr. Bulgari is, but we're not quite sure what the relationship with Bulgari and our precious white models are. So while we have the kings of white models assembled here, I thought we might be able to ask you guys a couple questions and find out a little bit about what's going on. So can you tell us a little bit, Daniele, about Nikola Bulgari and why he's so interested in white metal models?
Mainly because he's a passionate collector of American cars. This is the base. And all the passionate collectors, real cars, is passionate. He also likes very much the models. This is the reason why. The passion for American cars has born when he was really young in Rome. Everything started from that moment, and he continued during his life. So he was passionate of those cars and started collecting for his pleasure at the beginning. And I don't know when, but at a certain point, collecting cars, he started to building a sort of a mission, which was not just collecting for his pleasure, his own pleasure, but also try to preserve this piece of histories, which are the American cars, and in particular, cars from the 30s and the 40s. And this is the moment of the automotive industry he likes very much. And he's always saying that this moment in the American industry is the best one in the whole history of automotive. And I would say now he has a mission, which is for the real models to preserve them for the next generations. So he's doing a huge job in this sense, incredible. He's collecting models, and he has models collected, stored, and preserved in Rome and in Tuscany here in Italy, but mainly in the US, in Allentown, Pennsylvania. That's it. That's why, I mean, this is the base. And then, of course, he was also an important collector of models. And among these, he fell in love with Brooklin models. I know a few stories from Nigel that had visits from him, not new in the plant in Bath, not knowing who was this man coming and looking around, and step by step they get closer. And Nigel was actually measuring cars in Rome and went there several times, and then the passion was too big, and decided also to step into this business. But watch out, not to become rich. It was not necessary to buy Brooklin model. It's not the same. It's not making business. He entered in this business again with the same rationale, preserving this way of doing things, this way of reproducing models. And the market was, I think, Mr. Bulgari bought Brooklin models 5-6 years ago, not more. But the market was already in Far East, the market of production of these things. And the company left on the market doing models in this traditional way, in a way that was so close to his jewelry world, were very few ones, and one was actually Brooklyn Models. And again, from a passion, now now he has a sort of mission with the Brooklyn 2. He's not making money. He's not just making models for him. He's preserving this way of making models for the next generation too. So I think it's a very interesting story.
Fascinating. So he's a car guy. He's a car. So Daniele, could you work for a company called Customer First? Can you explain your role in Brooklin and SMTS?
Because Customer First is a consultancy company working trying to develop small and medium companies, and we met Brooklyn Models more than a couple of years ago, and we tried to develop it. We suddenly discovered that it was difficult to increase volumes. We got important customers in the meantime, and it was difficult to reduce the time to market, to make to create flexibility, to make different models. We did it because we did many things that are not just more automotive cars models. You know, we made boats, we made a lot of things, but nevertheless, we couldn't find a way to make the next step, to make it bigger, to come back to produce not just hundreds, but many thousands of models in different kinds. So we were in a certain way stuck. So we have been forced to look around and to find new ways to look at this business, at the way we were producing models. Looking around, as said, the companies making white metal stuff are not so many, and probably the closest, if not the last, on the market was SMTS. It was a few hundred miles away from Bath. And so this period, last year, we made the first consideration, and we decided to go and meet them, and we did it. And it has been very, very quick, the decision to try to get together with them, because we were so complementary, both of us, that as said, the sum of the two companies probably doesn't make two, but a bigger number. I cannot guess now if 2.5 or 3 or whatever, but more than two definitely.
Well, we've seen a lot of mention of B2B, business to business. We know that you developed a relationship with Riva, Maserati, the Vatican, and most recently with FCA. I thought that Fiat 500e, seeing that Brooklyn in the middle of the FCA display, I just thought was monumental. Are we going to be seeing more of that? And is that a vital part of your business plan as you go forward, B2B?
Yes, it is. It is absolutely in line with what you want to do. Of course, you mentioned basically just Italian brands, and this happened by chance because we live here, we have connection, we are here basically, and we have tented here and there to discover whether big customers, also with important brands, to grow the Brooklyn Models brand too, to improve the position and the awareness and so on. We suddenly discovered that as soon these big companies, big customers, also demanding customer, you can ask Keith and Simon about how much they can be demanding. We discovered that all of them, knowing and seeing the most part for the first time Brooklyn Models, actually they were astonished by the quality, and they were fascinated by it. So it has been pretty easy. We didn't have personal links with FCA people or whatever, Maserati, Riva, and so on, but simply presented in a certain way Brooklyn Models. The brand and the models were really hitting, and it simply happened that every company to which we went to knock at the door, they simply asked us to produce something for them. And there started the problem. Yes, but now we are bringing, let me say, quite a lot of business, quite a lot of units to be produced, to be put in the pipeline of production. And it was difficult. It has been difficult. It is difficult to follow these orders. It's quite matter of planification. Also, is matter of capability of the plant, elasticity, and so on. That's why again we came up on SMTS. But of course, we have a lot of ideas. We will develop contacts, not tomorrow morning, because Simon and Keith are working hard to improve things on the production side that will not happen in an overnight. But absolutely, we have a lot of more than just ideas to where to knock this time, all over the world, not just in Italy. Just in Italy, Italy and Italian brands now is sort of is a chance. By the reason I said.
I have to imagine that that business to business helps maintain the viability of the company.
Yes, from one side. On the other side is also challenging. I was saying they are really demanding, because one thing is producing a model of a classic American car of the 30s. You do it. Nobody is complaining about this and that. You do it well. But I mean, you don't have pressure of the owner of the producer, the maker, whatever. Doing contemporary models or doing models for a company which is producing, distributing, can be much different. The attention, the stress, and the control of the details can be really over your expectation, over something that makes sense sometimes. But this is really challenging, and for us is enlarging the market, spreading the brand, spreading the awareness of the brand, and bringing, you imagine, Riva, Vatican Museums, Maserati, Alfa Romeo, you know, these kind of brands are doing quite good to the Brooklin model, because Brooklin model is a good, let me say, a brand good enough to stay close to them. They are proud about to be their brands. Riva is proud to work with us, with the Brooklin model. So it's fantastic. So we are growing in this sense. It's not bread and butter, everything, but believe me, it's challenging, but somehow rewarding. Tough, because you will ask Simon and Keith, and they will tell you.
I'll tell you something. I've seen the Rivas, I've seen the steering wheels, and those first few Alphas are just beautiful models. They're just beautiful. Done a really good job. There's been a close relationship between Brooklin and the Brooklyn Collectors Club for a long time. A lot of the traditional collectors have been very enthusiastic about them, but recently we've seen huge improvements in the Brooklyn Collectors Club magazine, and maybe from my perspective, a new emphasis on the club. Can you speak a little bit about what the relationship to the club, to Brooklyn, will be, and what that's going to look like as we go forward?
To me, the Brooklyn Collectors Club is one of the biggest assets Brooklyn have. Of course, all the customers are important, all the B2B stuff and so on, but we have a small legion for the moment. For the moment, it's small, because the legions were thousands of people. Now we are talking about hundreds. But they are so important for us, so important for the company, because they are, we need to listen to them much more than we did in the past. I can say I discovered BCC by chance when I was in Bath once. I mean, it was not considered in the past so important, so key for the brand as probably we are intending it today. We could have done more probably in the past to develop it, to develop the relations, to improve the relations and the exchanges, but it doesn't matter too much. I would say that we are doing it today for sure from several months now, and I'm happy you see the results. I'm also happy in a conversation I had in a video conference I had a few days, a week ago probably, with the committee of BCC, and they told me they recognize, they told me that the relationship between Brooklyn Models and them never been so good as in the last months. I mean, we built, and Simon and Keith mainly, not me, of course, we built such a good exchange, such a good relationship that can be further improved, of course, but nevertheless is important. I really appreciate that, and is really motivating us to help each other, because we are not helping them. They are helping us. I mean, we are helping each other. We are helping their passion, and they are helping our companies. They are the biggest ambassador we may have down on the market. Like you, John.
Well, I have to admit, I've had the opportunity to talk to you a number of times over the last few months, and your passion for Brooklyn and for the products has just been exciting. Seeing your level of excitement and the anticipation you have for what lies forward has been very inspiring. I thank you. So
thank you to you.
Keith and Simon, now, how are you guys doing? You have got to, both of you have got to be exhausted.
Yeah, it's been quite challenging. I think we're beginning to see the wood for the trees. We're making some progress, and we're beginning to understand how we all work together, including with our Italian colleagues. Yeah, it's very exciting. It's interesting. The club are an important part of our future. I think we all know that. The B2B work we've always done that, but Daniele has brought another level to that business. More blue chip companies are coming on board. And the interesting thing there that we always have to remember is that what we make is directly representing those companies, and that's quite a challenge in itself.
So both of you guys are collectors and car guys, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your primary areas of interest?
We first met at Aston Martin Owners Club meeting event. So we were both. I was coming with somebody else, but we were both into Aston Martins, and that's how we met. So a long time ago now.
In a pub.
Yes, that's a good place to meet.
Yeah. Do you collect models as well?
Yes. Well, you have done in the past.
Yeah, I don't collect so much now. You know, it's. I wouldn't say the passion has faded in any way, but I have over the years collected one of everything I've been involved with.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to the point where it was a collection that really didn't have any focus. Now what I'm trying to do is get rid of a lot of those things and just keeping a much smaller collection, but a much more focused collection. You know, when you work with this stuff all day, every day, the need to collect isn't quite as great as it used to be. It's about making the next model and enjoying doing that.
Yeah, I can see that. I collected. I've got a small collection of model cars, but I collect other things as well. So I love sci-fi. So I've got I like collecting Blade Runner bits and pieces, and I love. And my wife calls it tat. I've got lots of tat around the home. Apparently, I love collecting old cameras and things like this. But cars have been my passion all my life, right from a child right through to now. So I still love. And we still read a lot about cars every day. We talk cars every single day, which more or less exclusive, isn't it?
Yeah. We don't have Monday morning. We don't have discussions at SMTS about the soccer games over the weekend.
No, racing.
It's usually about what's happened in motorsport. So We just have a young lady joining us this week, who's coming on board to learn the digital side of the business. She's a student, engineering student. She's coming to join us, and we're pleased to say that she's going to be joining in our motorsport discussions as well, because she's a big motorsport fan. So that's kind of where we come from.
Well, look, a lot of us over here in the United States are familiar with SMTS through Conquest, Western Models Collector's Editions, and a few other brands. But SMTS actually makes a much broader range of products, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what other sorts of things do you make?
Well,
you name it. We've done.
We'll make anything. If it's a miniature, we'll make it. I mean, we've made some bizarre things. We made a Tyrannosaurus Rex skull, only about 4 inches long.
The TVs.
We made some very early TV sets for Philips, the electrical company, who were sponsoring a dinner for the Royal Television Society. We've made so many different things. These engines that we keep on going on about that we're doing at the moment, engines are a big area. Construction equipment, just
How about construction?
get one of those sculptures.
Yes.
How about this for a weird thing? Just finished these. That is a sculpture for apparently quite a well-known Dutch artist, a chap called Boris Tellegen. I don't know, but it's
certainly interesting.
Yeah, we'll make all sorts of things.
This is our this is the construction stuff. We don't tend to make construction. We don't make whole vehicles, but we tend to make attachments that go on the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a concrete crusher, rock crusher, attaches to diggers, and we make lots of bits and pieces like that. So unusual bits.
We've also done some sporting cars, F1, Le Mans.
Yes, that's my passion, really. Historic racing is definitely a passion of mine now. I can't afford the real cars, but making miniatures of them satisfies me. It's and in the early days, we recognised that the US was a big market, and in the 60s, a lot of British racing car companies were tempted by the dollar in the Indy 500. And so to make models of cars that raced in the Indy 500 that were British and maybe driven by British drivers opened up the US market for us. And that was just because of, again, a passion. I'm a big Jimmy Clark fan. Jimmy Clark was my hero as a boy, because he came over there and won the 500 and became a hero in America, and still is. I mean, the guy's been dead since 1968, and yet he's still a hero. So we set out making a whole range of Jimmy Clark cars, and that morphed into other areas. And then this character, Henk van Asten, turned up at the door one day and set us off on the Conquest range. So it's interesting. I like all forms of cars. It doesn't have to be a racing car.
Here we are in this situation where these changes have occurred at Brooklin. SMTS has a new relationship with Brooklin. How do you see the two companies complementing each other?
We've traditionally worked apart, and it's been a shame that we haven't come together sooner. But we both make very similar models, but we've actually got different strengths in different areas. We've always gone with new technology. So we started off 3D printing way before many other white metal companies were doing this, and we were quite early on that kind of technology anyway. And we just try and chasing all those kind of new modern things all the time. Brooklyn have got some really interesting casting techniques that now we're starting to see what they do. They do some really nice casting, and between us, with our way of making molds now with 3D printing, we're a lot quicker, and combining that with some of the molding and casting techniques you've got at Brooklyn, it's going to make things a lot quicker to market. We've got things to show them. They've got things to show us. We've already learned so much from each other. It's such a shame we didn't get together earlier, because we've learned so much already from each other. You sometimes get a bit stuck in your ways. You think you're doing it the right way. We've done it this way for years, and this is the right way. And you see somebody else and think, that's really clever. Some really clever little things. And the staff are different, but they're set up more for large production runs. Whereas SMTS being a lot smaller, we've been more flexible. We can turn our hand to almost anything, but it tends to be around 50 to 100 sometimes. Whereas Brooklyn are more set up for larger numbers. So, and we've got work on both ends of the spectrum. So it works perfectly, bringing us together.
Ideal marriage. Are both of you going to be watching over both companies, or will one of you spend more time with one and the other with the other?
I'll spend most of my time on the day-to-day basis here in Hastings with SMTS. Simon will travel down to Bath every week until we can find somebody down there to take a bit more responsibility, keep an overview on things.
Keith will be Keith is going to be kind of the overall managing director, I suppose, of the whole group, looking at how it's all working. And I'll be more on the production side of things, making sure both companies are doing what they need to do.
Have you had any speculation on someday having it all consolidated into one place?
That's a dream.
That's a dream.
That's a dream.
It's a real hard, because we're so far apart for England. I mean, we're it's only 180 miles, but in the UK, that's a long trip.
It took him 5 hours to get back the other day.
So it's usually 3.5, 4. So you can't expect the staff from Bath to come down to here and vice versa. So if we work it right in what we're doing with the SMTS doing more development and smaller numbers, and Bath concentrating on the larger projects, it should be able to work. I don't think we'll ever see the day when we can combine the two companies easily. I'm not sure that's a goal at the moment.
No, we're very fortunate that both companies have very long-term staff. There are
very long-term.
There are guys at Brooklyn who've never worked anywhere else, and they're in their late 50s. It's one job for life. And here, we've got people here that have been here
over
30 years. One guy, 25 for a couple of the others. It's too late for them to pull up their roots and move somewhere else.
But you really do have craftsmen working for you. I mean, this is a little bit of a cottage industry, but the people that work in the plants are very gifted and very particular about what they do.
Yeah, you can't.
This is why I call you the kings of white metal.
You can't find these. Yeah, you can't find these staff. It's really hard. Everybody here who works is a model maker. They've started doing. They make models themselves in their own time. It's not necessarily car models, but they're all doing their own thing. And you can't just go out and find a replacement for these people. It takes years of training. Even for somebody who makes models, we still train for a number of years.
Well, let's dream just a little bit, guys. There's been talk for years floating around. I know 10, 12 years ago, there was a lot of talk about 143rd dying, and of course that never happened. And then there's still some talk floating around about the hobby dying. But you guys seem to be excited and have hope. Where do you think the hobby's headed?
We have had this year, I think, 4 projects for 1/32nd scale. Yeah, which is a bit bizarre. But of course, that's where, before 1/43rd came along, that little model cars in Europe were 1/32nd scale. There were a number of companies making plastic kits. There were slot racing cars in 1/32nd scale. There's a bit more value in a 1/32nd scale. for the traditional collector, yeah, 1/43 is the thing. You've got to have 1/43 scale. But if you give one of those models to somebody else who's maybe got a passing interest, they, oh, it's a bit small. Have you got something bigger? But of course, you guys got more space out there than we've got. You can't afford to. You can't have a collection of 1/18 scale models in the UK. You'll soon have a divorce on your hands if you start lining up the 1/18 scale cars in the sitting room. 1/32 is a good compromise.
We've also, I think, we've been discussing this with you, John, about moving. A lot of the white metal ranges are set in the 40s, 50s, a little bit of 60s, but it's time to start moving on a little bit into the 70s and maybe a little bit into the 80s, but updating some of the ranges. So that's something we will be looking at. Yeah, we do keep saying that the hobby's not what it was. It's not, the numbers aren't there like they used to be, but we still sell a fair bit, and there's still new people coming into the market. There's still new people doing it, and I think the Brooklyn Collectors Club has grown a little bit this year as well. Rather than being in decline, which it has been for a number of years, it's actually starting to go the other way a little bit, which is and then they're putting in bigger orders, which is so there is encouragement there.
Yeah. Of course, my theory is that as the market ages and the people that were collecting the 40s and 50 cars move into fixed income status, and people with discretionary income move into their prime earning years, that they're going to want to buy models that they grew up aspiring to.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, we had a couple of the resin companies started making models of some of the 70 cars, and everybody thought that they were crazy, but they sell.
I
grew up watching on TV, that's what I want to buy. And
what did you want as a car when you were 17?
Yeah, and so that market shifts. When I was 17 years old, about the nicest thing that I could aspire to would be one of the, Corvette was new in 1968. So at 70 and 72, I wanted a 70 and 72. And then they had all of these regulations that came here in the United States at 72 and 73. But there was always a hot car on the market, a car that was faster than the other cars on the market.
Yeah.
That was what we wanted to buy. And so I see the market shifting, and I see things happening over in Japan, where there's a younger collector, very discerning, paying a lot of money for 1/43 replicas of the cars that they grew up with. And so with that in mind, do you see any significant changes in the lineups being offered by Brooklyn?
Yes, definitely bringing them forward into certainly into the 70s. Whether we come into the 80s yet, I don't think so yet. I think it'll be the 70s. Your group have come up with some great suggestions. We've had the same in here from the Brooklyn Collectors Club guys. We've asked them for a list. Now we've got a huge list, and it's interesting, the ones that are the same on both lists. So they're obviously the ones we're going to look at first.
Are you able to share any secrets with us? Any idea what's in
Um,
You must be careful now. Danielle's on the phone as well, so he'll be looking.
Well, certainly early SUVs seem to be something of interest, and Ford Bronco could be one of those. That's an area we're looking at. I'm not going to say any of these are 100% because we haven't actually decided, but there are some of the muscle cars maybe of interest. There's certainly a strong following for them here in the UK. So
I'm surprised that some of the feedback I hear from the UK on the muscle cars, and people that have them and seem to be driving them out on the road. So, that's encouraging as well. Okay, so one last question for you two guys. For either of you, if you could make a model of anything that you were going to make a model of, what would it be?
I'm a massive fan I'm a wedge fan. I love wedges. And I would love to see a really nice model of the Aston Martin Lagonda.
Oh, yes.
You know, really, that's one of my Keith knows. He's appalled at my choice of cars sometimes, but I love all wedges. So that's one of the ones that hasn't been done very often, and I'd love to see that.
I'll buy one. So you can make.
There we go. We sold one.
Yeah, for me, I'm fortunate. I've made most of the cars that I've wanted to make. All the Jimmy Clark cars, all the Aston Martins we've done. They're all the models I wanted to do. The one car now that I would like to make, because technically it's really difficult, is a bit of an oddball. It's the Aerial Atom. Yeah, it'd be a really difficult car to make, and that's why I want to do it. It's for the technical challenge.
Have you had a chance to drive one?
No.
That would
I've
be.
been to the factory and watched them build them, but they wouldn't let me drive one.
I understand they'll just suck the breath right out of your lungs.
Yeah, so I'm told.
Something else. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys. Do you have any closing comments?
No, other than we're enjoying the relationship that we're now having with the collectors, and we've never had this in the past. SMTS has never been able to develop a close relationship for its products with the collector in the same way, because we've made a great wide range of products. And so people haven't collected SMTS as a brand. They've collected the models we make to sit alongside a lot of the other companies. Brooklin, people collect as a brand. And that's been really interesting to see that. Yeah, now we've got to try and feed the two companies in together. So I think we'll see probably less SMTS releases. They'll be released as Brooklin models in future.
Well, it's definitely been exciting seeing the news flow out of Brooklin and SMTS. And we can already see that there's a new level of transparency, a new level of communication. And I think as a community of collectors, that's really exciting.
Yeah, I think so.
Knowing that you can't divulge too much. I mean, the industry is so competitive. You know, somebody says, I'm going to make this car over here, and next thing you know, it pops out of some.
Yeah, that does. Yeah.
Yeah. But the idea of listening for feedback and knowing what's going on rather than relying on rumor. And I've got to give Daniele credit for opening those doors, and you guys credit for being transparent with us. So I really appreciate your time. I know you guys are busy. We'll get together again sometime soon and get caught up. But I just wanted to thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having us today.
Have a great day.
Thank you, John.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.